At 9:50, the hallway light was still on. Not the bright one near the front door, but the low lamp halfway down the narrow hall, where the family photos hung in their mismatched frames. School pictures. A beach trip from years ago. One photo where everyone had turned toward the camera except the little girl, who was looking at something outside the frame. The street kept moving beyond the windows. Tires passed over damp pavement. A car door closed somewhere down the block. Life did not know there had been an argument in this house, or that it had already settled into the tired quiet that comes afterward. Her niece had gone to bed. The aunt stood there with a mug in her hand, the one with the chipped handle. She had meant to take it to the kitchen. She had meant to rinse it, place it in the dishwasher, turn off the lamp, and let the day be finished. But her thumb found the rough place in the ceramic. And for a moment, she remembered who had given it to her. Years ago, she had thought the mug was nothing special. A small gift. A little awkward. Something handed over without much explanation. But now, standing in the part of the house no one photographs, she understood it differently. People had tried to love in the ways they knew. Not always clearly. Not always gently. But sometimes warmly enough to stay. So she stood under the hallway light a little longer, with no audience for the effort, letting one quieter minute finally reach her. The small argument had not been loud. It had been the kind that happens after a long day, when one person says something too sharply and the other person answers from the tired place underneath. A backpack had landed too hard near the stairs. A dinner plate had been left on the coffee table. Someone had asked about a permission slip, and someone else had said, in a voice that came out flatter than she meant, that she could not remember everything for everybody. Then the house had gone quiet in pieces. First the sink. Then the TV. Then the bathroom fan. Then the soft click of the niece's bedroom door, not slammed, not gentle either, just closed with enough feeling to say what had already been said. The aunt had stood in the kitchen for a while afterward, not moving much. There were 2 forks in the sink and a grocery bag folded badly on the counter. Near the front door, a duffel bag still leaned against the wall from the weekend trip they had taken to see family, one strap twisted under itself. She had not unpacked it yet. Nobody had. Some evenings carried too many small returns. You came back from work. You came back from errands. You came back from a family visit where everyone asked how things were going, and you said fine because there was no short way to tell the truth. You came back into the house with fast food wrappers in the trash, unread emails on the phone, and a child old enough to have her own hurt but still young enough to need someone steady nearby. The aunt had not always known how to be that person. She had learned by doing it wrong on quiet Tuesdays. By signing forms late. By buying the wrong cereal. By standing outside a bedroom door wondering whether to knock or leave the quiet alone for a few more minutes. She had learned how much love could fit inside ordinary things and how often it arrived looking nothing like the love she had imagined. The mug was still warm in her hand. It had been sitting on the side table near the couch, half full of tea gone too dark. The chipped handle had always made it a little awkward to hold, but she kept reaching for it anyway. The chip was not sharp enough to throw the mug away. It was only rough, a small place where the glaze had given up. Years ago, someone had wrapped it in newspaper and handed it to her across a kitchen table. She remembered smiling, maybe not with enough care. Back then, she had been younger, more certain, busier in a different way. She had thought love should be easier to recognize when it entered a room. Maybe it should come with the right words. Maybe it should know exactly what to say. But most people had only what they had. A mug. A ride home. A hand on the back of a chair. A meal kept warm too long. A quiet envelope with $20 inside. A phone call that sounded casual because tenderness made the caller uncomfortable. The hallway held all of that without asking her to name it. Family photos looked softer under the low lamp. Her niece as a little girl with missing teeth. Her own sister in sunglasses, laughing at something outside the picture. A crooked frame that had been straightened and knocked crooked again so many times that nobody fixed it anymore. Outside, a car moved slowly past the house. Inside, the duffel bag stayed by the door, still full of wrinkled clothes and travel crumbs. The house had been used all day. The rooms showed it. The people in it showed it too. She stood there with the mug and felt the argument loosen, not disappear. Just loosen. There was still a morning to face. There would still be school, lunches, traffic, work, and the careful way people find their way back to each other after speaking from the wrong place. But for that minute, under the hallway light, she could feel something warmer underneath the tiredness. Not a perfect family. Not a perfect love. Only the ordinary ways people kept trying. In the kitchen, the clock over the stove had gone a little fast again. It said 9:56, though her phone said 9:50, and she had never bothered to fix it. There were certain small inaccuracies a house learned to live with. A drawer that stuck. A hallway frame that never stayed level. A lamp that flickered once before settling. A mug with a chipped handle that still held warmth better than the newer ones in the cabinet. She carried the mug as far as the sink, then stopped. The dishwasher was half full. A plate leaned at the wrong angle. One plastic container sat upside down on the counter because no one could ever agree where its lid had gone. The kitchen still smelled faintly of microwaved leftovers and the peppermint tea she had made without really wanting it. This was the part no one saw. Not the family photo where everyone smiled. Not the school concert, the birthday candle, the vacation picture where the lake looked bluer than it had been. This was the after part. The rinsing. The checking of backpacks. The tired counting of tomorrow's obligations while the house pretended to be still. Her niece had left a hoodie on one of the dining chairs. The aunt looked at it for a moment, then left it there. Years ago, she might have picked it up right away, because leaving it there would have felt like evidence of something. Evidence that she was not keeping the house together. Evidence that she was falling behind. Evidence that someone might walk in and know how uncertain she still felt in this life she had not planned exactly this way. But no one was coming in. The street moved outside without looking through the windows. Headlights slid across the blinds and disappeared. Somewhere, a neighbor's trash bin rolled a few inches in the night air, then stopped. The world was carrying on with its own little noises. She rinsed the mug slowly. The water touched the chipped place, darkening the exposed ceramic for a second. She turned the handle toward the light and saw the uneven edge, the small break that had become familiar through repetition. Her thumb knew where to rest without thinking. That was how so many things became beloved. Not because they arrived perfect. Because they stayed long enough for the hand to learn them. She remembered the first year after her niece came to live with her. How every room had felt too loud with responsibility. How the laundry seemed to multiply in secret. How school emails came with too many links. How the grocery store became a place where she stood in the cereal aisle trying to guess what would make one child feel normal on a Wednesday morning. People praised the big parts. They said she was doing a good thing. They said she was strong. They said her niece was lucky. They meant well, and sometimes their words helped. But they did not see the smaller work, the kind that disappeared as soon as it was done. Cutting tags from a new sweatshirt. Waiting in the car outside practice. Learning which questions not to ask at the wrong time. Standing at a bedroom door with her hand raised, then lowering it again. The mug had come from someone who did not know how to say much about tenderness. That was what she understood now. It had been given in a plain way, almost clumsy. No speech. No explanation. Just newspaper folded around ceramic, tape at the seams, a hand pushing it across the table as though the giving itself were slightly embarrassing. At the time, she had missed it. Not completely. But partly. She had been looking for love to arrive in a form she could recognize right away. Something fuller. Something easier to trust. She did not yet understand how many people carried care in plain containers because they had never been taught another way. The mug clicked softly against the sink. She washed it, dried it with a dish towel, and held it a moment before putting it away. The handle was still chipped. The house was still not clean. The argument had not become sweet just because night had lowered around it. But the room was quieter now. And in the quiet, she could feel the difference between being alone in the work and being unloved. They were not the same. The hallway felt different after the kitchen was done. Not empty, exactly. More like the house had lowered itself by 1 inch. The air was still carrying small proof of the day, the faint warmth from the dishwasher, the tired smell of travel clothes by the door, the almost sweet trace of tea on the mug before she had washed it. She had put the mug back in the cabinet. Then she had taken it out again. There was no reason. Not a good one. She stood in the narrow hall holding it, under the low lamp, with the family photos beside her and the street moving outside. The chipped handle rested against her palm like a small remembered thing. Some objects ask nothing. They only stay close enough for memory to find them. She looked at the photos without turning on any more lights. Her niece at 6, standing in front of a classroom bulletin board. Her niece at 9, holding a paper plate at a family cookout, her smile uncertain because 2 front teeth were missing. Her niece last year, taller, sharper around the eyes, trying to look as though being photographed did not matter. The aunt had been in some of the pictures too. Usually near the edge. One hand on a shoulder. A purse strap sliding down one arm. Hair pulled back in a hurry. The look of someone who had made sure everyone got there and had forgotten, until the camera lifted, that she was also in the room. She did not dislike those photos. But they never showed the hallway afterward. They did not show the drive home with everyone quiet in the car. They did not show the bags dropped near the door, the shoes kicked off too hard, the careful voice asking whether homework had been finished. They did not show the private shame that came after an impatient sentence. Photographs held the proof of being together. The hallway held the proof of continuing. Outside, another car passed, and for a second the wall brightened, then dimmed again. The aunt listened to the tires soften down the street. She thought of all the houses nearby, all the rooms with their own small repairs happening quietly. Someone loading a dishwasher. Someone folding a blanket. Someone standing outside a closed bedroom door, deciding whether love would be better as a knock or as patience. It made the night feel less lonely. Not crowded. Just less lonely. She thought about the person who had given her the mug. How long it had taken her to understand that awkwardness did not always mean absence. Some people did not know how to open their hands without looking away. Some people loved through errands, through objects, through showing up 5 minutes late with something practical in a paper bag. She had wanted more words once. She still did, sometimes. But years had changed the way she read certain gestures. A chipped mug was no longer just a chipped mug. It was the shape of someone trying, in the language they had. It was warmth without fluency. Care without decoration. A small thing carried forward until the meaning finally caught up. From her niece's room came the smallest sound. A bed shifting. Then quiet again. The aunt did not move toward the door. Not yet. She stayed under the lamp, breathing slowly, letting the minute be plain. The argument did not need to be solved before morning. The love did not need to become beautiful before it was real. The house was still used, still imperfect, still holding everyone's tiredness. And the mug, with its rough little handle, fit into her hand as if it had been waiting years for this quieter understanding. There had been a time when she thought rest had to be earned. Not in words, exactly. No one had sat her down and told her that. But the belief had settled into her body through ordinary days. Through bills paid late at night. Through work clothes hung over a chair. Through school lunches made with one eye on the clock and the other on a phone that kept lighting up with reminders. She had learned to move first and feel later. Sometimes much later. That was why the hallway surprised her. It asked nothing from her. It did not need to be cleaned yet, not really. It did not ask her to explain the argument or fix the bruise in the evening. It only held the low lamp, the photos, the scuffed baseboard, the duffel bag by the door, and the mug in her hand. A narrow place. A small pause. She leaned one shoulder lightly against the wall. The paint was cool through her sleeve. The house had become quiet enough for tiny sounds to come forward, the refrigerator in the kitchen, a pipe settling somewhere behind the wall, the soft rush of a car passing outside and moving on without knowing anything about this family. The family photos watched without judgment. That was not true, of course. Photos did not watch. But sometimes they had a way of making a person feel surrounded by versions of life that had already passed. There was her niece in a red jacket from 2nd grade. There was her sister, younger than her niece was now, sitting on the hood of an old car. There was an older aunt whose name had been said less often after she died, though her face still leaned gently out from the frame. So much care had moved through these people. Not perfectly. Maybe never perfectly. Her own family had not always known how to speak softly. Some people had shown up with casseroles but not questions. Some had mailed birthday cards with checks inside and no real note. Some had remembered practical things and forgotten emotional ones. Some had loved in ways that were useful, awkward, stubborn, and hard to thank while they were happening. The chipped mug belonged to that same language. She held it by the body instead of the handle. Her fingers curved around the cooled ceramic. The break in the handle was visible under the lamp, a dull place where the shine had been interrupted. She thought of the person who gave it to her, the way they had pushed it across the table as though a gift could be offered without making anyone look too closely at the giving. At the time, she had wanted something easier to understand. Now she was older. Now she was raising a child who could be tender in the morning and hard to reach by dinner. Now she knew how many feelings could hide under a sentence about homework, dishes, a hoodie left on a chair. Now she knew how quickly love could come out sounding like impatience when the day had been too full and no one had rested inside it. That did not excuse everything. It only made some things softer around the edges. From the bedroom, there was no sound now. Her niece was either asleep or pretending to be, the way children do when they are not ready to come back into the world of adults. The aunt could picture the room without opening the door, the blanket kicked partly loose, the phone charging near the bed, the backpack still holding tomorrow's unfinished pieces. She would check in the morning. Maybe there would be a quiet apology over cereal. Maybe there would be no apology at first, only the passing of a lunch container, the signing of a form, the small repair of ordinary care beginning again before either of them knew how to name it. For now, she stayed where she was. The street outside kept going. The house inside kept breathing. And under the low hallway lamp, in the part of the room no one photographed, she let herself be a person who did not have to rush toward the next task. Just for 1 minute. Just this one. The longer she stood there, the less the hallway felt like a place between rooms. It felt like a room of its own. A narrow one, without a chair or table, without anything meant to make a person stay. Just the rug with one corner that always lifted, the lamp with its yellow shade, the photos, the baseboard marked by years of bags brushing past it. It was a place made for passing through, and maybe that was why it held her so gently. No one expected her to become anything there. Not the good aunt. Not the patient one. Not the woman who remembered every deadline, every grocery item, every small emotional weather change in a growing child. In the hallway, she was only a person holding a mug after a day that had asked more from her than she had known how to give cleanly. The chipped handle caught the light. She looked at it closely now, as though she had never really looked before. The glaze had broken away in a small uneven crescent. The exposed ceramic underneath was dull and pale, not pretty, not ruined. Just changed by use, by one careless knock against the sink or cabinet, by some ordinary second nobody remembered. It had survived. That was all. And somehow that was enough to make her throat tighten for a moment, not sharply, not painfully, just with the strange warmth that comes when an object tells the truth without meaning to. So many things in the house were like that. The photo frame with a bent metal tab in the back. The throw blanket with one pulled thread. The chair at the dining table with a scratch across the seat from the year her niece tried to drag it closer to the window. The small dent in the wall near the front door, where a suitcase had hit after a long drive home. None of it looked perfect. But all of it meant people had lived here. People had come in tired. People had left late. People had argued, eaten, forgotten things, remembered things, rushed, returned, set bags down too hard, and kept finding each other in the same rooms. The aunt thought of her own childhood home for a second. Not the whole house. Only one corner of it. A kitchen table with mail pushed to one side. A mug set down near a newspaper. Someone moving around after work, not saying much, making noise with cabinets because silence was easier than tenderness. For years, she had thought that meant distance. Maybe sometimes it had. But not always. Sometimes silence was what people used when they had never learned how to bring softness out into the open. Sometimes a practical gift was the safest way to say, "I thought of you." Sometimes love came wrapped in newspaper because wrapping paper would have felt too bold. She let her thumb rest near the chip. The house was so quiet now that she could hear the refrigerator start again in the kitchen. A low hum. Steady. Ordinary. The kind of sound no one notices until everything else lowers. Her niece had once asked why they still kept that mug. It was months ago, maybe longer. She had been unloading the dishwasher, holding it up by the body instead of the handle, making a face at the broken place. The aunt had shrugged and said it was fine. She had not known then that one day she would stand under the hallway lamp and understand the answer better. It was not fine because it was perfect. It was fine because someone had given it, because her hand had learned it, because it had been part of too many evenings to become nothing. A car slowed outside, then continued down the block. The light moved across the hallway wall and left. She stayed. For once, there was no hurry inside the minute. Nothing in her reached for the next task. Nothing tried to turn the quiet into a plan. The argument rested somewhere behind her now, still real, but not as large as it had felt when the words first came out. She thought of her niece asleep behind the closed door. She thought of the morning waiting. And she thought of all the care that had reached her life imperfectly, through chipped things, awkward gifts, late rides, clumsy sentences, and hands that stayed busy because stillness would have shown too much. The warmth in it was not loud. But it was there. By the time the aunt finally moved, it was only to set the mug on the narrow ledge beneath the photographs. She did not leave it there often. The ledge was too shallow, and she usually told her niece not to put drinks near the frames. But tonight the mug rested there for a moment, close to the picture of a beach trip from years ago, the one where the little girl had not looked at the camera. The aunt remembered that day only in pieces. Sand in the car maps. A towel that smelled like sunscreen for a week afterward. Her niece refusing to wear the hat packed for her, then crying because the sun was too bright. Her sister laughing, then turning quiet in a way the aunt had not understood at the time. Memory rarely came back clean. It arrived with missing parts. It arrived with the wrong details first. For years, she had remembered the difficult things more quickly than the tender ones. The sharp sentences. The people who did not come through. The times help was late, or clumsy, or smaller than what was needed. It was easy to store those things because hurt had clear edges. But love had not always been clear. Love had sometimes been a mug wrapped in newspaper. A hallway light left on. A ride offered without conversation. A plate covered with foil. Someone standing in the doorway, saying nothing, then clearing the snow from the car before leaving for work. She had missed some of it while it was happening. That was a quiet ache. Not a dramatic one. Just the kind that sat beside her when the house became still, and let her see how young everyone had been, even the adults. How much they had been carrying. How many people had tried to love with hands full of their own tiredness. The low lamp made a small circle on the wall. Around it, the hallway fell into softer shadow. The chipped handle of the mug pointed toward her, imperfect and familiar. She looked at it and felt no need to make the moment larger than it was. A house at night. A child asleep or nearly asleep. An ant standing still after saying something too sharply. A mug that had waited years to be understood. There was mercy in how ordinary it all was, not the kind anyone announced. Not the kind that fixed the day. Only the kind that let a person stand for one more minute without having to defend her heart against itself. She picked up the mug again. This time, she carried it carefully to the kitchen and placed it on the counter instead of inside the cabinet. Maybe she would use it in the morning. Maybe she would pour coffee into it before the house was ready for words. Maybe her niece would come in with her hair uneven from sleep, open the refrigerator, and say nothing for a while. That would be all right. Sometimes repair began without a sentence. Sometimes it began with the ordinary sounds returning, the cabinet door, the spoon against a bowl, the lunch bag being zipped, the front door opening to the day. Sometimes people found their way back to each other through the same tasks that had worn them out. The aunt turned off the kitchen light. She left the hallway lamp on a little longer. The house did not become perfect in the dark. The duffel bag stayed by the door. The hoodie stayed on the chair. The morning would still ask for patience before patience had fully arrived. But under the low lamp, the photos looked less like proof of what had been missed and more like proof that people had kept showing up, even awkwardly, even tired, even without knowing how to say the thing underneath. The street outside kept moving. Inside, the aunt stood in the quieter minute that part of her had needed. Later, when the house had gone fully quiet, the aunt walked once more through the hallway. She did not turn off the lamp right away. The low light touched the frames, the chipped paint near the corner, the small shadow under the door to her niece's room. Nothing in the house looked arranged for anyone else to see. The duffel bag was still by the door. The hoodie still waited on the chair. The mug sat on the kitchen counter, clean now, its handle turned toward morning. She paused beside the photographs. For a long time, she had wanted love to arrive clearly, with the right tone and the right timing. She had wanted it to be easy to recognize before years had passed. But some things had reached her life in quieter forms. A plain gift. A practical errand. A meal kept warm. A light left on. Someone trying, without knowing how to make the trying beautiful. The hallway held those things gently. From the street came the sound of one last car moving past, then farther away. The house answered with its own small sounds, the refrigerator hum, the settling walls, the soft breathing of rooms that had carried everyone through another day. She rested her hand for a moment on the wall. Not to steady herself. Only because she was there. The argument would not be the whole memory of this night. Neither would the tiredness. Somewhere inside it, there had been a mug with a chipped handle, a lamp left burning, and one ordinary minute where she finally understood a little more about the ways people had tried to love. She let the lamp stay on. Then she stood there quietly, as if that was enough,